Marcille from Dungeon Meshi is here, and this is possibly the only chance you'll ever get to pull her. So, should you pull Marcille? I recommend that you do because she is a good unit while being a true limited character. Now don't get me wrong, she's not broken, she's not Yalto Alter or Ella, but she is a good unit. So you should probably pull her unless 1. You don't care about Dungeon Meshi at all, 2. You only want to pull on the best operators, or 3. You have someone else that you really just want more. Marcille is a splash caster, an archetype that is generally considered the worst caster archetype. And while other splash casters think Mastima and Dusk mainly focus on utility, she is the only splash caster that can actually do her archetype job doing AoE damage better than an Aya S2, while still maintaining some utility. I'm going to talk about her talent 2 first, which is essentially a worse version of Chu's talent. Instead of bringing operators like Ling and Chongyu to buff your entire squad, you have to bring these guys, and the buff only applies to them. Thankfully though, she does get initial mana from her talent, so it's not the worst. Her talent 1 and her unique gimmick is that instead of requiring SP, she uses mana, which can only be charged up when she's not deployed. Although mana can be recharged by this guy and regular SP generation effects like Talopsis, Mastima, and Stainless. This surprisingly complements her high TP cost, since without module, you're going to have to wait 55 seconds anyways for her mana to fully charge up. Marcille's skill 1 gives her a big attack boost and lets her heal her allies in range when there are no enemies to attack. After chanting for 1.5 seconds, her attack and heals during this skill will cost 2 mana each. At full mana, she gets 40 uses of this skill, and assuming she is always hitting or healing someone, this is around 2 minutes of uptime. This skill heals a shit ton per attack, at the cost of a slow attack interval, which is honestly pretty nice because she's a use-based character rather than a time-based character. Although this also means that if you buff her attack speed, she will heal more but it'll last shorter. This skill has a major drawback though. You cannot choose whether or not you want to heal or attack. Marcille will prioritize attacking over healing. She's still a caster after all. Also, here's a fun fact about her skill 1. By giving yourself Carpal Tunnel, you can increase her skill 1 efficiency. Before moving on to her skill 2, I'm going to rant about mana, because Marcille does not do this mechanic justice at all. You can skip ahead if you don't care. Mana is extremely unique and has high potential because it completely ignores downtime in exchange for having limited cast. Take Aya skill 3 for example. It is a high SP cost skill that you're probably going to use only 2 or 3 times in a stage. For argument's sake, let's say 3 times. Fuck it, let's say 4 times. But you have to plan when you use the skill, because if you use it too early, it might be down when you actually need it. But imagine if Aya skill 3 operates on mana, but you can only use it twice. Except now, you have the option to use it whenever you want. You can even use it twice in a row. It opens up completely new strategies to deal with the unique stages. This was my first general impression of mana from Marcille's kit, and honestly, it could be so much better too. Let's go back to the mana version of Aya skill 3. But instead of having enough mana to cast skill 3 twice, you have enough mana to fire off 60 fireballs, assuming regular Aya skill 3 fires 30. This allows for a much more interactive and methodical gameplay. I'd also argue that it is more intuitive to play around limited mana usage than it is to play around skill timings, enemy spawns, and downtime between waves. Now, is that going to stop me from taking a nap after using Thorn's skill 3 and Locust skill 1? Absolutely not. I love my AFK strats, but it would be cool. Also, keep in mind that Ashe, the Rainbow Siege collab unit, was the first unit with the ammo mechanic, so it's not that unlikely that new operators that use mana will come out eventually. And honestly, hey, who knows, maybe once enough of them are out, there's going to be an operator that has a mana transfer skill that completely kills the only downside mana really has. Now with all that being said, you can take everything I said just now and throw it out the window, because Marcille's skill 2 and skill 3 completely disregard all the cool things mana can do. Which is quite sad, but it doesn't make her a bad unit. Marcille's skill 2 is what makes her an actual slash caster. It's definitely her best skill. It is essentially like Thorn's skill 3 or Typhoon's skill 2, where you have to use it twice before it goes online. But instead of hitting things or waiting for it to charge up, you charge it by just chanting for 11 seconds. After casting it once, Marcille gets an attack boost, while making her attacks also slow enemies. After the second cast, she gains 1 range, a pretty big attack speed buff, and her main attack will stun the main target. She also keeps the slow from the first cast. This skill is great. It will naturally clump up enemies, assuming they aren't dead. Basically completely ignores mana. Border green, place her down, wait, turn off her skill, go make some coffee. I don't actually drink coffee, I don't know why I said that. Anyways, unlimited duration skills typically take around a minute or so to charge up, so doing nothing for 22 seconds is honestly pretty good. It's also a very good AoE AFK art skill, and there are very real reasons why you will use this over local skill 1. Because, shocker, the AoE caster is better at doing AoE damage than a single target caster, which is honestly a pretty insane revelation in Arknights. This skill is what makes her worth pulling for if you're not considering the fact that she's true limited. And she really needed a good skill too, because my god, her skill 3 is so bad. Marcille skill 3. Marcille chants for 5 seconds. Afterwards, she continues to chant. You can cancel this second chant to consume 8 mana, which will create an explosion that does arch damage and will stun enemies. You also have the option to let Marcille continue her chant for 10 more seconds, and afterwards she will consume all of her remaining mana and create an additional explosion for every 8 mana consumed. The skill really fucking sucks. So much that I'm willing to cope and say that they made it suck on purpose for a more accurate portrayal of her character. My god, this ability is so terrible, and I'm about to fucking crash out. The fact that this skill has 0 flexibility, despite mana having infinite flexibility, is so crazy. Why do you have to use all of your mana? Why can't you just gain an additional explosion for every, I don't know, 2 seconds of cast time? I get the 5 seconds initial cast time, sure. In anime, strong spells tend to have cast time, and stronger spells equals longer cast time, sure, whatever. But if I have 16 mana left, why do I have to cast for 15 seconds to use 2 explosions? At that point, I'll just cast it twice. There's also no real incentive of this extended cast other than the fact that it's the only option. They could have made it so, if you decide to consume all of your limited mana, each additional explosion will only cost 6 instead of 8. Then there would be a genuinely good reason why you would want to empty out your mana in one cast. Also, if you're going to make a skill that requires a 15-second cast time, at least let me hold on to the skill after I'm done casting. The skill automatically goes off after 15 seconds, and for some reason, the stun range of the skill is bigger than the damage range. Yes, I know the skill can stun lock, so I know you can abuse small damage windows. But this means that I'd have to be fucking Doctor Strange. 14,605 possible futures, only one will be right in front of me while also happening to be in a damage window. But it's okay, because we live in a world where you can only take one skill into a stage. An operator only needs to have one good skill, and Marcille has a really good skill too. And honestly, a pretty usable skill one too. Her kit is really unique, in some ways that are very interesting, fun, and good. In some ways that are very interesting, yeah, her skill 3 is certainly something. She's definitely by no means broken. She's not Yato Alter or Ella, but she is 100% worth pulling, because you'll probably never get the chance to pull her ever again. And there's always going to be a more broken operator year after year, anniversary after anniversary, but an operator as unique as this, if you don't pull her now, you might really regret not pulling her later. And that's pretty much it from me. If you like this video, please drop a like and please consider subscribing. And I am going to go watch the anime now because I really need to see if her skill 3 really needed to be this bad. Bye bye.